Hi everybody. We are finally going to connect some dots, if you will. It is time to talk about fractions and decimals and how they relate to one another. So I'm going to start with a model, and you are welcome to grab some grid paper, and I've simply cut a 10 by 10 out, and it was hard enough for me to do one 10 by 10. I'm not going to do 25 or 26 of them. So feel free to get one for your table group and have people cut them. So what I've done is I'm going to have you look at this square, this 10 by 10 square, as a chocolate square. Okay, so if I only have the pink shaded part left of my chocolate square, remember this is one chocolate square, I only have this much left, we realize that each of these pieces is 1/100th. I'm going to write that right here. Each of those pieces. So I know that this is 10, this is 20, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're 25 hundredths, and in 25 1/100ths, or I could say, if I say the word hundredths, remember our decimals, 25 hundredths can also be written as 0.25. We read both of these as 25 1/100ths. Well, we've just been working on reducing fractions. And if you look at this 25 and this 100, we can divide this by a fancy form of 1, and we're going to do 25 over 25. If you reduced it by 5 2 times, it would also work. But we're going to reduce it by 25. 25 divided by 25 equals 1. 100 divided by 25 equals 4. 4. So the answer to expressing it as a reduced fraction would be 1/4. I have another one I wanted to show you right below. And this one, somebody has gotten into my candy drawer and eaten all but these two little pieces. How do we write these? Well, if you look at this, I'm going to do it the other way. I can say that this is 2/100ths. These are 100 and I only have 2 of them left, and I would write it as 0.02. Remember, it can't be 0.2 because that would mean 2 whole stripes would be there. It's only 2 little pieces. It's like having 2 pennies, not 20 cents. So be very careful of that. Well, if I say 2/100ths, express that as a fraction, you can say it's 2 over 100. And I see that they're both even numbers. So I'm going to divide it by the fancy form of 2 over 2. There's my 1 right there. I draw a big thick 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 100 divided by 2 is 50. So I could express the same amount as 0.02 or 2/100ths or 1/50th. Up here I could say this is 25 hundredths as a decimal, or it's 1/4. Either way it represents the exact same amount. So right now I would like you to try to express 0.8 and 8/10ths and 36/100ths as a reduced fraction. Go ahead and pause the video and try those two. Okay, once you have done this, I'm going to do the 0.8 or the 8/10ths as a visual example, and I have made that right here. And you can see that this represents 8 of the 10 stripes that we have, so it would be 8 over 10. And if I were to reduce this by a fancy form of 1, which I'm going to do 2 over 2, that is going to be 4/5. So 0.8 is exactly equal to 4/5. 8/10ths and 4/5. Just a same way to express the same amount. So this one we would have 36 over 100. And I can see, just because of the math that I've had, you can try to think of, you can reduce it by 2 times, but I can see that it can be, both of these can be reduced by fourths, 4/4. That's the form of 1 that I'd like. So 36 divided by 4 is 9. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 36 hundredths and 9 25ths represent the exact same amount. They're just expressed, one as a fraction, one as a decimal. I want to go through how you would do 2 and 4 hundredths. So this would actually end up being a mixed number. You can pause and try this, or you can stay with me in the video if you think that would be more helpful. So I know that I have a whole number that is 2. And then I also know that I have 4 out of 100. So I need to reduce the 4 over 100. My 2 is going to stay the same, but if I reduce the 4 and 100 by 4 over 4, I am going to end up getting 1/25. 100 divided by 4 is 25. So 2 and 1/25 is the same amount as 2 and 4 hundredths. And 2 and 1/25 are equivalent. They're the same thing. So look at this one, 4 and 5 thousandths. So 4 and 5 over, yes, you put the 1,000 on the bottom. And now you know that they both end in a 5. You can divide by 5 over 5. And if you do that math, you will find that 5 goes into 1,000 200 times. 5 goes into 5 one time. So your final answer is 4 and 1/200th is the same thing as 4 and 5 thousandths. I'll move this up a little bit. Next, I would like you to try 2 sample ones where we have a whole number here. So you can pause the video and try to draw it as a fraction, and I'll start working the problem as soon as you start. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the 1, and I'm going to say this out loud. I would say this as 25 thousandths. And I know I can reduce this. I can divide the top and the bottom by 25. If I do the math on this, 25 divided by 25 is 1, and 1,000 divided by 25 is actually 40, because 25 will go into the 100 4 times, plus put the 0 over the last 0, but you have to keep that whole number because that stays the same. So you have 1 and 1/40th is the fraction version of 1 and 25 thousandths. 1 and 82 hundredths, it helps me to say it out loud, 82 over 100. Right now all I am seeing is that you can divide it by 2 over 2. And it's fine if it ends up being able to be reduced further, just keep dividing them by 2's. But 82 divided by 2 I see is 41. 100 divided by 2 is obviously a 50. 41/50ths, and then I keep that whole number, he stays the same, 1 and 41/50ths. If you were able to get to these 2 answers with these 2 questions, you are ready for your assignment. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please come and find me and let me know. Today's assignment kind of goes into tomorrow's assignment.